You want to start with the songs? No need.
Okay. Did you put it on Do Not Disturb?
Just that. It's still
Then you can start.
Yeah.
Just pause.
It's playing. It's screen sharing.
Okay, let's go. Oh, just stop sharing.
No.
Somebody can adjust that. Okay, I think we need it.
No.
It's too late.
I think Johnny just started.
Somebody.
Okay, yes. When I come to them.
Why is it too big? Ah. Is it better? Yeah, I think it's okay.
Is this okay? Oh, okay. Good.
You guys is okay.
The concept is okay.
So, hello everyone and welcome to the MWX Insight Sessions, How Chinese Companies Scale Faster. A few housekeeping rules. So this entire session will be 45 minutes long. Along the way, if you have any questions, you can drop them down in the comments, and at the end, we will be addressing all of them. So if you were here a few minutes before we started, we were playing a song. Ian, what's the title of the song again?
It's called The Less I Know, The Better by Tame Impala.
The less I know, the better. Kind of ironic for an information session, right? But sometimes I guess that's what people want, right? In this age of noise and overstimulation, everyone wants to know less. Maybe filter out the unnecessary fluff and focus on what matters. So this is what the session is going to be about. We aim to provide you with what you need, invaluable insights into the ins and outs of Chinese companies. So, Jangan, welcome in.
Okay, hi. Hello, thanks, Sophia. It's exactly 2 weeks to go to the end of the year. Thanks for joining us on this, it's Wednesday, right? Wednesday afternoon, close to the Christmas and New Year holiday. And I see a lot of people who are very familiar. So we have not been doing any online session for the last 2 years because we have spending lots of time in China. So, that's the song, right? Okay. The less I know, the better. So, and also last month, we did our first MWX Executive Immersion MWX program in Singapore, which we took a lot of the case studies that we have discovered along the way and distill them into playbooks that people can learn from in Singapore. So as you can see, that is in the same setting with the same backdrop. We had 14 participants, 5 countries, 8 companies, and 9 Chinese logics decoded, 49 playbook tactics. And people consumed a total of 23 Michel beverages. So this is a photo that my colleague took of me. Apparently I looked very happy. I still couldn't figure out why. So we also had a lot of discussions, right? And we invited some of the OGs from the Chinese entrepreneurship over the last 20 years who have built multiple businesses across the ecosystem in China to share with the participants. And a lot of questions were asked and answered. And the discussion went very, very deep and very, very interesting. So why are we here today? And this session is about how Chinese companies scale faster. And this is something that we have been hearing for the last 2 years. We were talking to people through our consulting engagements, through our immersions, as well as through our selected venture building activities. Our partners, clients, and friends are always asking this question because they see a lot more Chinese companies which are coming out using a very different playbook and starting competing in the global arena. So why do they do things faster? And there are lots of guesses, right? People read from the media saying that, oh, is that because of the state subsidies? Is that because everybody in China works 996, like nonstop? Is that because China simply has the scale? And I think for many industries, these are some of the explanations of the pace that or the emotional pressure many of the Chinese companies face. But them alone do not explain the whole picture. And they don't explain in particular why there are like thousands of Chinese companies in a particular sector, only a few emerge as the winner. So this is something that we were trying to decode during our sessions. So over the last 22 months, that's the reason why we didn't do online sessions as we used to do a lot back in 2022 and 2023. It's because we spent a lot of time on the ground figuring out how things are working in China. We went to the warehouses, we went to the wholesale markets, we went to the AR, VR companies, and we went to the manufacturing facilities, live studios, etc., etc. So,
Zhang, what are you holding in your hand?
A mouse. So, in preparation for this session, my colleagues are saying that we should get a clicker because it's easier to click. And somebody somehow figured out that a mouse is the same as a clicker, and it's much cheaper. Anyway, so we also are trying to figure out lots of questions, right? And these were the questions that were asked during many of our immersions by our clients and partners. How do we compress cost without breaking experience? How do we grow users without marketing spend exploding? How can we scale operations without losing control? What's AI's real job beyond dashboards and chatbots? What keeps platforms profitable at large? And quite often, we hear from people saying that, oh, we run a brand, we run a company in Southeast Asia, in Latin America, in Middle East, India, etc. So now we see lots of Chinese companies coming out to compete against us. And we look at how they do things. We will certainly lose lots of money if we do it the same way. But why do Chinese competitors keep doing it the same way? Why? So this is the logic. And of course, there are a lot of reasons behind it to analyze the full spectrum of the factors that determine how the leading Chinese companies use the playbook that they do today. But today we are going to focus on one subsector or one sub-area, which is the logic of LTV versus CAC versus control cost. And that will give you the efficiency that leads to scale and also the confidence to move towards scale. We will go through this in more detail a bit later, but I just want to lay it in front of you guys so that you can have that in your mind when we go through the case studies. So, yeah, we showed this picture. This was during one of the discussions that happened during the MWX program in November. And one question asked back then was, what's the single most important metric that top Chinese companies can't compromise on? What's that single metric that's the most important, that guides the companies? The North Star. So we had one of the OGs, Kai Fei, a good friend for many years, who flew to Singapore from Hangzhou just for this event. And he is I think, probably the best connected and most insightful e-commerce experts in China we know. And he answered this question without hesitation. The non-negotiable primary metric is lifetime value over customer acquisition cost, LTV over CAC. For many of us who work in tech industries, and this concept is not new. And it's something that we are very familiar with. Lifetime value has to be bigger than customer acquisition cost. Everyone knows that. I think even for some of the more traditional offline industries, the same holds, right? If you run a retail business, you rent a prime real estate to have exposure to customers so that you have customers walk through your store. That's your customer acquisition cost. And how much the customers are willing to spend with you, each individual basis, as well as aggregate basis, determines how viable your business is. So the customer acquisition cost, everyone understands. This is the amount of money we spent on Facebook, on Google, through offline leads, through banner ads, through so increasingly on Shopee, on TikTok Shop, to acquire customers. We can measure that. We can quantify that. We know exactly how much we're spending. But lifetime value, how much are we getting out of the customers we are spending? It's not that straightforward. 10 years ago, when I was running some of the first tech companies in Southeast Asia, we were measuring the customer cohort diligently every week, every month, every quarter. But the truth is that we really didn't know. So, and this is important because quite often, when you have a clear idea about this, when that becomes the guiding principle, when you use that in the right way, you can scale. So here we will use 3 case studies to explain how leading Chinese companies approach this. So we will have one case study about live streaming. As you guys know, TikTok Shop is becoming more prominent in Southeast Asia. We will have one case study about beverages. Mishu and Luckin, we see it everywhere. And we'll have the last case study about the e-commerce company called Shein. And so, of course, these are selected from a repertoire of more than 20 case studies that we have developed for our programs. But we thought that, okay, these are companies that everybody would be familiar with on a daily basis through your job or your daily life. Let's go.
Are you ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
Yeah.
Live commerce. It's just like
And the crowd's ready.
Oh, are the crowds ready? I don't know. I can't see.
Give me a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, great.
So let's talk about live and video commerce in China. And thank you, Josh. So amongst the 21 immersions we did in China, 8 of them were actually about live commerce. We went to, I think, pretty much all the leading MCNs, studios, service providers, e-commerce enablers. We went to check out a few brands. We even went into 2 manufacturing facilities to see how the live commerce organized their supply chain. So we learned a lot. There are 4 photos here taken at different places. The one on the top right, somebody took of me pointing at something which I couldn't figure out what that was. Anyway, so one question that got asked all the time, and got everybody curious, is when the Chinese players are telling you that we are spending on ads as long as the ROI for live ads is greater than 1. Remember that? We are spending as long as the ROI for live ads is greater than 1. So what does ROI mean? Here, ROI equals return on ad spend, or ROAS in the industry term, which is the dollar value of sales you get for every single dollar you spend. And of course, you understand that when you sell something online, the ad you place is not only cost. You still have the cost of producing the goods, shipping the goods, you have to pay your staff, and you have to run the live operations. So in general, many of the brands we have spoken in Southeast Asia, and they have to make the ROAS greater than 2 to 5 to make it viable. Otherwise, you will lose money on this order. But in China, again and again, people are telling us that as long as the ROAS is greater than 1, they are willing to do it. And if the ROAS is greater than 1.2, they feel fantastic about themselves. Why? Why would they do that? And if you think from the logic of customer acquisition cost versus lifetime value, customer acquisition cost. So essentially, this is the way for you to get a customer to try your product by placing an order and actually getting it. Imagine what are the other means that you do to get a customer to try your product. You place the ad, or you do a huge banner ad, etc., etc. So in a very competitive market, customer acquisition costs can be very expensive. And when you think about when you use live, you actually get some money out of it, and it's actually much cheaper than many other customer acquisition means that you use otherwise.
Like what we're doing now.
We're doing live.
We're doing live.
We're offering for free. Yeah. Anyway, so if you do that, and then the calculation becomes more straightforward, because this year we've been speaking with lots of brands that struggle with understanding this metric, right? We're losing money on live. Why are we doing that? They struggle with, is this the marketing budget we should be spending on, or is this the sales budget or channel budget we should be spending on? So we spoke with quite a number of brands in China, international brands. I remember one auto brand which was telling me that they struggled with that for a long time until they finally convinced their CFO that there should only be one budget. There should be one budget dedicated to live. Then they should compare that to customer acquisition in other channels. Then everything became much more straightforward. That is why you see a lot of Chinese brands use live very aggressively to build and extend their brand and their new products. So this is Dreamy. Some of you might know it as a robot vacuum cleaner.
Vacuum cleaner, hair dryer, hair dryer.
They do have hair dryers as well. And the company was started in 2017. You guys probably read the news that there's another company called iRobot. Do you guys have a Roomba?
Yes, I do.
You is too young to know what Roomba is.
The Roomba.
You know, okay. So iRobot just went bankrupt like two, three days ago, and was bought by the Chinese supplier because they owed the Chinese supplier a lot of money. So Dreamy actually came out, launched a lot of products, and used a combination of live and other means to quickly acquire customers. They have more than 45 domain accounts catering to different products and different segments of customers. Now, when these companies come to Southeast Asia or even beyond, they take their playbook with them. And of course, they will very quickly realize that, okay, this is not one market. This is a conglomerate, this is like 6 different markets, or sometimes 8, 9 different markets.
So for this one, a lot of our community members are very confused. Why would a company launch that many domain accounts?
Because you have a lot of customers who are of different segments. They might not be following the same account. And you have one main account, it doesn't address the customers with niche needs. And of course, in China, it's a very big market. They can't have a lot of accounts addressing to different type of customer needs. And this actually 45 is not the max. One of the MCNs we went to had 80 plus accounts focusing on very different segments of customers. And when it comes to Southeast Asia, maybe they don't do 45, maybe they do 3, they do 4. And we see there's one case of a Chinese cosmetic brand, Indonesia, which does about 12. So, but still, that's a playbook which is puzzling for lots of people outside China, but it's quite common in China. So once they have used these accounts to acquire the customers, once the customers are familiar with the Dreamy brand, they try to sell everything to the same customers using the same channels. On the left of this slide is the product portfolio of Dreamy. Yeah, you mentioned about the vacuum cleaners, you mentioned about the hair dryers. They also have coffee machines. They also have dishwashers. They have air purifiers, etc. On the right, they're even producing a car which looks almost exactly like a Rolls-Royce Culinary. And the last I heard is that they are launching a copycat of Niche, the offline store. So since we're talking about live commerce, there's this adjacent topic, which is the short drama and mini-series.
Shout out to Teng Yan.
Yeah, shout out to Teng Yan, who has, for our insights team, who has done quite a number of consulting projects and deep research about the short drama, and we realized that even towards the end of 2025, many of our community members' understanding about short drama still stayed at the beginning of the year when media was saying that, oh, short drama is where the customers, the consumers, pay to unlock new episodes. But the business has evolved far beyond that. So on the left of this slide, you will see Meituan, which is a food delivery and a quick commerce platform. And on the right is Taobao, which is the e-commerce platform. And both are actually launching a lot of short dramas. In fact, much more than that. So on the left of this screen, you will see a screenshot from one of the platforms where it shows the short drama. And those who can read Chinese would realize that, okay, they have actually a section just called short dramas. And they have different engagements for people to stick around and watch more dramas, to get more cash, more coins and stuff. Now my question is, can you guess which platform that is? Is that Meituan? Is that Taobao? Is that Pinduoduo? Or is that Douyin?
Let people reply and mark.
Okay, you can type in chat, right?
Time to check.
I can't see the chat. Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Oh, they're coming in. Douyin, Pinduoduo, Douyin,
Taobao,
Taobao, Pinduoduo.
Okay,
Mix of all answers.
Kuaishou.
Okay.
We took this screenshot yesterday from Meituan, which is food delivery. Kubo-san said, wow. So why would I do that, right? I mean, Meituan is a quick commerce platform. They don't sell you the content. In fact, they're not even good at doing content. So, and we have spoken with, and especially Teng when she was doing the projects, we have spoken with many executives actually running these initiatives. And one thing we got is that these initiatives, all these short dramas, do not increase the GMV of the platform. Why is every platform doing that? So a bit of context. So this is a statistics done by a friend who is in the business of consumer apps. And
You guys are the first to see it.
aside from a very small WeChat group that we have. So 25, his estimate is between 25 to 30% of all the screen time in China is now short dramas. And you can see that we actually go on the streets in China. You see all those food delivery riders, when they are standing idle, they watch short dramas. So he estimated there's whopping 700 million hours spent daily by consumers on short dramas. So whoever who controls the screen time would have the ability to upsell and would have the ability to defend against their competitors. On the left of this screen is a screenshot of an app called Hongguo. Some of you might have heard of it. So it's the short drama app launched by ByteDance, the same company which owns Douyin and TikTok Shop. So they very quickly became the biggest short drama app in China, and they offered it completely free to the consumers. So this screenshot was taken in Singapore yesterday, and of course you see a Grab and Singtel digital bank app there. So every platform now has incentives to say that, okay, if I do not spend time to get all my consumers stick to my platform, then consumers would go to the other platform, my competitors. Then gives my competitors the ability to do e-commerce, to do quick commerce, to do food delivery. So there was actually a lot of empirical evidence in that. I think back in 2012, one of the Chinese e-commerce platforms said that, okay, all these ads that we do are not leading to anything. So they stopped for a year. And you know what happened? Their competitor, Tmall, came up. And now if you reflect that back then, they were known as the top brand platform. You can guess which one that was. And if they didn't post that ad for a year, and there would probably have not been much chance for Tmall to actually come up. So a lot of food for thought here. Maybe let's do the second case study here, which is about Lucky and Miche. Yeah. And so during the program 2 weeks ago in Singapore, and we had participants from 5 countries, right? And
yes.
but they were all in Singapore, and I think half of the participants were telling me that, oh, we have never seen a Miche in Singapore. In fact, when Luckin first came to Singapore about 2.5 years ago, we heard a lot from a lot of people saying that Singapore consumers will not download the app for a cup of coffee. Because many people have tried to get consumers to download apps for this and that. At the end of the day, consumers' attention is limited. They can only have a few apps on their phone. So when Miche came in a bit earlier, and even until now, many people are saying that F&B in Singapore is really tough. And if you live in Singapore, you read the news, every week you see in the newspaper that, oh, this F&B chain is shutting down, and everybody's complaining about the rent and high manpower cost. And Miche, which sells ice cream at $1 and a drink at $2. I think you can see that on the screen, right? And so very cheap.
Most of us are not their core customers.
I think some of us are. We just don't want to admit that.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's cheap and quality is actually okay. So today, Luckin has 65 stores in Singapore. Miche has 45, and both companies are actually profitable in the country. So since Luckin came about 2.5 years ago, we have been running this sit, innovate, repeat immersive workshops. I think Yoli, Elodie, and team have been running that together with our corporate clients as well as business schools, EMBS, INSEAD, Indian School of Business. So we took half a day or a full day to dissect the different business models of these beverage companies. And part of the journey is to actually go to these stores to observe how they work and try to deduce what's the strategy behind it. And when we do the reflection session, quite often we get this comment saying that I do not really like their customer service. And somebody will always very quickly add they do not really care about customers.
Josh is saying the slide is not moving to the second case study.
Is it moving?
It's moving for me. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Josh, I think just give it a second.
Yes.
Okay. Kim Chuan, thank you. It is moving
Thank
for Kim
you.
Chuan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
So they do not really care about customers because I think as Yoli was saying off screen that we're not their target customers. We are used to, having the names written on your cup when you go to Starbucks, have that customization when you do the drinks. Or I know a few amongst us would only go to specialty coffee. Even Starbucks doesn't taste good. So these two companies, and this is actually photo taking in Singapore on Selipi Road, I think. So there's Miche next to a Luckin, and next to that is a local brand called Liho Tea. So both Miche and Luckin Coffee managed to scale up quite significantly. Luckin now has close to 30,000 stores. Miche has 56,000. These two companies look at LTV very seriously, but in very different ways. I'm going to unpack a little bit. Luckin, every year, they launch more than 100 products. And as you understand that the only touch point that Luckin has with the consumers is through the Luckin app, or in China's case, Luckin's mini programs. They have completely got rid of the dependence on the food delivery platforms or discovery platforms. So, of course, we have lots of users. You're going to have different kinds of tests, different kinds of preferences, different kinds of styles.
This is from China. These are all the 119 products from China. Mm-hmm. How many? I think Ed is in the call today. I think he can identify half of them.
He's tried everything. So there's this QA product called Orange Americano. We once run a poll in our one of our WhatsApp groups. We said, okay, do you like Orange Americano? And you can see the results are very divided. Most people say no way. But there's a significant minority who say love it. And even smaller minority say I don't mind it. Do you like it? People here?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Definitely not.
You
Yes.
see how divided things are.
Oh, so, some people do like it. If you like it, just give a thumbs up.
So the thing is that quite often, this is something I learned many years ago. Never assume ourselves as the typical customer. So Luckin, obviously, Orange Americano is the second top selling product in China after coconut latte. And obviously there's something right that they did about it. But once they figure out this is right, you know what they did? They doubled down. So I took this screenshot about 3 months ago when I was waiting to meet somebody in Shenzhen, and there's Luckin Coffee downstairs, so I took them there. And they sell Orange Americano, Apple Americano, Pomelo Americano, and Lemon Americano. So the idea is that you realize when citrus flavor works well with black coffee, you double down on it. I think I tried one. Which one did I try? I tried the Lemon Americano, and add the
Fizz.
fizz in it.
Fizz.
It actually tasted pretty good. It was
Okay.
August. It was like 32 degrees outside. Tasted pretty good. So of course, all this is codified in a process. I'm not going to run through this in detail, and this is in the slides, which I think, will we circulate the slides afterwards?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
We'll circulate the slides afterwards. Yeah. So they run a process which allows them to do it in a very, very systematic way and in a codified way. And of course, there are only certain amount of core Americano or latte drinkers. There are a lot of customers who are casual, who like new things, or who like a particular type of taste, like Orange Americano. So when you have ability to customize your product in a systematic way, which doesn't break your supply chain in any operations, you increase the overall customer cohort and you increase the lifetime value of the customers. Even me, sometimes I will order Orange Americano when I feel that, okay, I want something I can taste. So at the same time, Mixue, they keep the prices low. We have had like quite a number of chats with the early Mixue employees.
Yes.
And some of the founding team members when we went to China, because everyone's trying to decode that, okay, how can I build such a business to such a scale with such low price and still profitable? And not only profitable for the company, but profitable for all its franchises as well. So, and we are asking, I think 2 of the early Mixue employees and saying that, how did you guys have the foresight to keep the prices low through all these years of change, because they started in 1997 and now it's 2025. And they said, well, in the beginning, when we started, we had the college students. Remember, back in 1997, that was before China joined the WTO. That was before the economy started to take off. So all the college students in the province were poor. They came from the countryside. But they want some kind of self-indulgence, but they can only afford so much. So it forced us to keep the price low. And over the years, we had multiple decision points to say that, okay, do we raise the price or do we sort of address to a more premium customer base, or do we just keep the prices low? And almost every time, the decision comes to we should keep the price low. That's the most rational decision. And now if you look back, it looks like a strategy played out by those decisions at each point. And they said there were like 2 to 3 times which they got tempted. They tried to raise the prices, try to become a little bit more premium. Didn't work. Disaster. So both companies also offer a lot of emotional value. We talked about the engine that that Luckin Coffee has built to develop new products. They also have an engine to run brand partnerships. So the CMO of Luckin Coffee, called Yang Fei, he's quite a figure. There are a few of his reflections that have been shared on the internet. I think we have dissected a few on our blog, The Lowdown. You should read that because that gives a really good understanding about how they build the marketing machine they do today. So you guys have probably figured out the red one in the bottom, the multi-latte, which they sold 5.4 million cups on the first day.
Josh actually published about this on talked about this on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah. So more than that, I think here you know about Tom and Jerry, which you can see in the Luckin shops in Singapore, and many people will know that use Duolingo to study language, which is counterintuitive. But anyway, so and Butter there, and the Wukong, etc., etc. They have a systematic way to actually constantly come up with that. So I'm a core Americano drinker, but many other people get attracted by this and different customer cohorts.
Young people.
Not necessarily young people. I see a lot of good, not so young people just do that. Okay, Miche, the Snow King. And this photo is taken in Singapore at the Bugis Junction. On that day, they moved, I think, 5 or 6 Snow Kings. I was asking the people who were running that program, saying that, hey, how does it feel to be in a Snow King costume on a hot day? And he said, do you want to try? I said, no. And he said, but we do pay them well. So, because it's really hard to walk with the inflated costume on you. So this is a couple of weeks ago. They actually painted the plane with the Snow King, with the Snow King mascot, and also decorated the interior of the plane with the Miche branding and color and stuff. And when that came out, we were having a discussion with some friends in China, and everyone's saying that, what is the big deal, right? Because airlines paint their planes all the time, especially those poor airlines which need to rely on advertising to survive. But one person just reminded us that go and check out the social media. It's a huge deal because lots of the Miche customers, I wouldn't say the majority, but a lot of Miche customers, they don't take planes as frequently as you do. So for them, having a Snow King fly in the sky is a big deal. And that gets viral because we went to check out and so many people organically posted how great the Snow King is and stuff. How much does that cost? Probably not much. And of course, to appeal to the more professional side of the consumer base, this is Miche's IPO earlier this year, and it's Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So usually, what you do is that the CEO, founder, and a few top executives will go and ring that gong, and Miche is then the Snow King. And that photo went viral amongst friends of investment analysts and investors.
What's your advice to buy Miche stocks?
Well, I don't give advice about stocks. No. But I think here we're more looking at the business model, right? So what we can learn from, and that resonance creates a lot of interesting stuff, right? So these are two real instances. When a fly is discovered in Miche drinks, or when overnight lemon slices are discovered, because they were telling everybody we'll sell fresh lemon. For most of the brands, this would have been a food safety or PR disaster. And then you have the PR team spending all night trying to write press releases, then company executives coming out to apologize, etc., etc. For Miche, it worked out differently. So that's about the lemon slices, and the customers rush to defend the brand. So we actually checked with the brand with the people inside, saying, "Hey, did you guys plant all these comments?" They said, "No, it's organic from customers." So just to read a few, Miche didn't complain about us being poor. So why should we complain about using overnight lemons? It's not that the fruit sat there for too long. It's just I showed up too late. So that kind of emotional resonance that it has created for their core customer cohort works fantastically for them. And there's something even better here. Any of you have been to Shanghai, and we go to the Bund, nice riverfront, then you see, I think my colleague from China will not be happy about this. She's laughing. So you'll see the Oriental Pearl TV tower, and there's a meme going on social media in China a couple of months ago, saying that, okay, because Miche represents the masses, the people who are not affluent, not opulent, and Shanghai is the most affluent and opulent city in China. So basically, the story goes that there's Captain Henan. Henan is the province where Miche is from, who goes to Shanghai and got attacked by the TV tower. The TV tower saying that, hey, you are too poor. And the guy who's holding a Miche drink and takes up a manhole to defend against the TV tower shooting laser. And then the Snow King came to rescue and plugged the TV tower. I'm still amazed how that was allowed on the internet in China, but that went viral. And then again, I was asking the guys there, did you guys create that? And they said, no, but we're happy to see it being popular. So again, if you think about Lucky and Miche, and from a point of view of how they acquire customers and how they increase the customer lifetime value through an engine, through designing the products through starting with the customer needs, then designing the products, and work the cost structure afterwards. That reverse engineering, that emotional value creates their success to this day.
And now Miche is selling breakfast and alcohol as well.
Yeah, they are selling craft beer, which is apparently popular amongst young people. So a lot of interesting discussions there. Actually, I mean, when we talk about Miche, we spend almost half a day talking about Miche because different facets of the company actually offers different case studies that people could take in their playbook. Last one, Shein and Temu. So these two companies were talked a lot about this year when Mr. Trump launched his tariff war, and it almost became that the media was saying that these two would be the biggest casualty of the tariff war. We have visited companies, they look fine. So Shein is also facing lots of backlash in Europe at the moment when they pressed forward to open an offline store in Paris, in the middle of Paris, in a premium like department store. It's fast fashion that I think lots of the establishment were thinking that, okay, how could fashion be fast? How could poor people afford fashion? Over the last few years, through our immersions, we have visited Shein, we have visited their warehouses, and we have visited their supply stores. And I think we managed to piece together a story about Shein pretty well from the outside. So we know that they launch about more than 4,000 designs every week. Is that wasteful? I mean, that's the common sort of problem or complaint that people have about fast fashion, right? Let me go back a little bit in history. In 2017, I was actually physically in Dubai doing some advisory on e-commerce. And since I'm Chinese in Dubai and everybody thought that Middle East was rich, so every e-commerce investor from China would go to Dubai in 2017 and 2018 to figure out how can I invest in companies which can sell like $100 basket size fashion. And I met most of them, and everybody was saying that, what the hell is this company called Shein doing? Because all their competitors, Jolly Chic, Club Factory, Ford Deal, many others, were aggressively acquiring customers and spending on marketing and grew the GMV. And it seemed that Shein leadership was just stuck in the factories. I don't know what they were doing. So the story flipped during the pandemic. So I still remember when I was stuck at home in, I think, end of April, beginning of May 2020, during the Ramadan promotional period, and coupled with the pandemic, e-commerce demand surged. I remember I was talking to all the sort of logistic companies in the Middle East, and everybody was telling me that, every e-commerce company is struggling to get shipment through to the country, to get space on planes and stuff. Shein gets chartered planes flying to Riyadh every day.
Wow.
What happened? Right? Oh, this is the photo which I took in in one of the Shein factories. Yeah. So, and also when you go to the factories, and you guys probably heard of their ability to do lots of designs. I was asking one of the factories saying that, what the size of order for Shein that you typically get, and he told me the smallest is 12 pieces. The largest order he ever got is 800 pieces, but typically each order is below 100 pieces. So how do Shein convince suppliers to work on these terms? There was this seminar in, I think, Europe a couple of months ago, where a garment factory owner from Bangladesh summarized this actually fairly well. He said, we look at the fashion supply chain, we look at the garment factories, what are the top challenges that they're facing? Cash flow, right? Because they get their orders from typically large brands, and large brands will typically order lots of stuff and they will pay late. Inventory. Sometimes the brands will cancel the order, and but in anticipation of the order, we have already accumulated the raw materials. What should we do? Worker retention. Well, there's really not much career progression they can offer to workers. Like whoever who has a chance, they will leave. So how did she convince the suppliers to work on the terms that they have? First, work with the small factories. And to do that, they actually moved their headquarters from eastern China to southern China near Guangzhou area. Their original base, the first base, is from the province where I am from. I remember
Where are you from?
close to Shanghai, like the 12 drive. So, so I remember like a friend of mine, his uncle runs a garment factory, and he was telling me that the minimum order quantity he could take is 50,000 pieces. Below that, it just doesn't make sense for him to recruit the workers and start the production line. But when you go to Guangzhou area, small workshops which are already there, and you have to convince them to, it's much easier to convince them to work with you. Second, full ERP integration up to the supply chain. You see a QR code here. So at the end of each step, you scan a QR code, so it gets recorded in a system. So there's full transparency between Shein and the factory about how the process is like. And also Shein would be able to tell the factories that what you could order, what raw material you should order from where, and what's the cost. So that might be a lot easier for the factories to actually plan and organize their supply chain. But the most important thing is on-time payment. Back to the logistics story, right? So the logistics providers during the pandemic were telling me that the only reason why everybody would help Shein book the allotment is that they know that Shein will pay. They will pay on time. The others, well, they promise they will pay, but we're not that sure. We don't have full confidence. And also, if you look at lots of the designs that Shein has, it's actually very similar to each other. So you know that they recently have established a production in Turkey and with a huge distribution hub in Poland. And I was asking one of the factory owners saying that, hey, how do you replicate that in Turkey? They said, from the raw material point of view, it's actually already very straightforward. We don't have that much variety in raw materials. I mean, think similar to Latin, right? Orange Americano, citrus Americano.
Pomelo Americano.
It's the same thing here. You create lots of variety by having a system that allows you to create this kind of varieties. It's an engine. It allows you to scale and cater to different. We have a Shein flywheel, which we'll not go through in detail because it's a lot of information. We took half an hour to go through this during our immersion program. So, but this will be in the slides. I'll be shared with you. And now they are providing supply chain as a service. This is interesting because a lot of the e-commerce players, a lot of the brands that we have talked to that were taking to China are saying that we want to do something similar. We have the capabilities and we want to offer that to our customers. And lots of the e-commerce enablers are also offering different capabilities to different clients. But this story is interesting and it's not a straightforward story. They had a lot of twists and lots of initial failures of experimentation. But once you have the capabilities, and how do you package that, and how do you make it something that others can leverage, and how do you sort of make money from that? This is something interesting that that Shein has found a way, although it's still in relatively early stages. And also during the immersion, during the executive immersion we had in Singapore, and I think somebody was asking me saying that, oh, some of her friends were boycotting Shein because they run sweatshops. I said, I've been to so many factories and warehouses in Guangdong area during the summertime. And if you talk about sweatshops, and Shein is definitely not one thing. This is their warehouse. which process about 5 million orders a day. And did you notice that they have the air conditioning? Yeah, so it feels different.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels really different.
It feels different.
Yeah.
Before we go to the conclusion,
Yes.
are we done with this?
Yeah, I think
We have 2 questions
Okay.
from the ground. I'm just going to share with you the question, so you can take a.
Can you read?
Okay. First one is from Ayu. How significant is the return for Mixue to spend on their branding, increasing brand presence to customers through traffic and margins? Does this case, Mixue, only applies for Singapore market or other markets, or does it? Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, if you think about that, they don't really spend that much on brands. You don't see them run a lot of ads. You don't see them on billboards, but you see the Mixue logo everywhere, and those are paid by franchisees. And I got a sense of how much they're paying for the plane. It doesn't cost as much as many of the other campaigns that we see on a regular basis. The social media part is interesting because I do have somebody who is from another beverage chain in Malaysia who asking us saying that, what did Mixue do right in Malaysia? Because there seems to be lots of viral content going on, especially amongst certain communities in Malaysia. And then I went to ask Mixue. They said, oh, we don't really do anything particular. It's the same playbook as we have in China where people are doing this.
Okay. There's a second question.
The second question is from Bong Kim Chuan. Luckin may be able to do R&D rapidly in China with this engine, but how do they do it when they go abroad?
I think very good question. We had very similar questions actually asked during the immersion as well. People were saying that, oh, a lot of things that people do in China is because China has a scale, that our market does not have a scale. How can we do something similar? So, and of course, there's lots of details about the detailed playbook, but remember, China does not always have the scale it has today. Everybody started from somewhere. So some of the discussions we had about Mixue actually went back to 2013, when the company was still a relatively small company. Then we look at what decisions they made at that time. That draws resonance to people outside China to say that, okay, oh, this is something similar. At that time, we can do that in our market. But we need to be vigilant, because if the market opens up and becomes bigger, if the competition heats up, we need to have a different playbook. Specific about Luckin, I think that the ability to keep all the data, capture all the customer data, and that played a huge part, because we do see a lot of people in China trying to copy what they do. But also, of course, partially it's because Luckin was the first one. Partially it's because they were very determined that, okay, the only interaction happens online. That allowed them to be very sharp in that. And I think that can be replicated in other markets. But what we typically see is that people, when customers come to you saying, I want to pay cash, do you accept or not? So sometimes it can be a tough decision to make.
Does the 119 products play a role as well in R&D?
What do you mean?
They launch different products all the time to test out.
They launch different products all the time, and they test a lot more products, right? And we have seen a lot of the R&D by different companies, and I think Luckin's the way is much more systematic. And also, they get the feedback quickly to see what sells, what doesn't sell, and they have all the consumer data, and they will have a better idea of what sells to which type of consumers. This is something that many other brands would have a much longer feedback cycle. Shall we go to the conclusion?
Yes. Okay, let's go.
This. Selection, speed, quality, savings. Yeah. Shall we go through this or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have 5 more minutes.
So these 4 value propositions, and remember that I'm not going to go through them in detail, but it's something that we'll talk about again and again. We'll analyze different companies, because Shein somehow found a very weird way to meet all 4 of them. Synthesis. So we covered a lot of case studies during the cohort 1 MWX, and we just picked a few companies that people are very familiar with. And I think for the Shein case study, we also spent more than half a day on it. So there are very different facets, and I think today it gives you a good glimpse of what they are doing, and hopefully some of the learnings could be useful. Again, a reminder, we did the 21 immersions to China, and here are some of the other things. From the top left is me trying to deliver some parcels at one of the largest facilities in EU in China, which delivers almost the entire volume of Southeast Asia from a city of 2 million. Top middle is EV production line in Chongqing, I think. And it's interesting to see how they have 3 or 4 different EV models coming out of the same production line. And the bottom left is Meiyijia, the top convenience store network in China, 40,000 stores. And they managed to beat the likes of 7-Eleven and Family Mart. How did they do that? Lots of interesting lessons. The bottom middle is Meituan's drone delivery, and my colleague Elodie, who is stealing the scooter from the rider. And bottom right is distribution center for dark stores for e-commerce. So we will, and it's interesting for us. For us, it's also good learning that every time, the more we see, the more we can connect. So, oh, okay, this is how things work. And also the more we understand why things work this way in China. And once we understand that, it's much easier for us to look at, okay, in a different market, when certain factors are the same, certain factors are different, certain factors are permanently different, and how should we adapt some of the playbook, and which playbook should we adapt? But this logic keeps coming up. Lifetime value is bigger than customer acquisition cost. And this question also keeps coming up. How do you know your customer's LTV? Because most companies, when they start rolling out a new product, when they start a new business, we have no idea what's the value of the customer. Cost is something that we can evaluate immediately. How is the lifetime value? There are methodologies on that. Start with estimate, then calibrate your estimate. This is what Shein does. This is what Temu does. This is what a lot of other companies do. So, to summarize, this is a slide which I showed at the beginning of this presentation. Increased LTV, reduced CAC, and control cost. That leads to efficiency, and efficiency leads to the ability to scale. I mean, quite often, scale doesn't mean you work hard. Doesn't mean that you basically spend all the time or you squeeze your suppliers to the max. It means that you have figured out a way to organize your resources, your company, your supply chain in an efficient way that when you look at it, the only rational choice for you to do is to scale. And also the confidence to move towards scale. Because when we look at the different initiatives in different countries, quite often new initiatives fail because the leadership do not have the confidence. Because I don't know what's the eventual value, but I can see the cost occurring on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. So once you have the good understanding about what's the potential LTV, and once you run that calculation in your model, you have the confidence saying that, okay, when I scale to a certain extent, I know that I'm confidently to invest in this, even though we know that for the first few orders, we lose money. How do you do this?
My colleague forced me.
Yes, my colleague forced me to watch a video from Simon Sinek, and who told a story of 2 lumberjacks. And one of them, sort of cutting trees, one of them would disappear for an hour every day, but will eventually cut more trees than the other guy because he spent an hour to sharpen his axe. And this is actually an old proverb that everyone who grew up in China will know about. Take time to sharpen your axe. And quite often, this is also a big reflection for us when we have been to China so many times, that a lot of the things we do at Momentum Works, we just become so focused on doing that, but we'll forget that there's a better way to do it. There's a better way to organize the resources. There's a better way for us to be more efficient. And only with that efficiency, we could scale. With that, it's almost time. Thank you very much for being with us, and I wish all of you. Do you have more questions, or can we address the question there?
We have one more question, but we might want to do this offline.
We'll do it offline. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And if you have more questions, feel free to drop us a note, send us an email, and if you know where to find our colleagues, just find our colleagues. And I wish you a great end of the year. I wish you do this more often next year, and have a happy last 2 weeks of 2025.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank